I'll give it a few minutes. So, how's everything going today? Okay, so I wanted to thank the group, and I wanted to thank Rebecca Lima for inviting me. I am excited, always excited to talk to fellow consultants and coaches and entrepreneurs about their business and development. So what I do is I work with several businesses, I work with several entrepreneurs, and I just take them from a conceptual point all the way through growth. A lot of the interactions that we have, I get to hear a lot of concepts and concepts that really seem benign. You know, what harm could it do? But I like to always take a deep dive into business, deep dive into those questions that some people don't want to be asked, that some people may not be able to handle the truth. And that's the best thing about business planning. Business planning is designed to tell you what should happen, what shouldn't happen, and you have to listen to the research. So I like to break down things to think about, questions to ask yourself. I asked this morning anything in the group, and I got one question, and it was, of all the things that we're asked to do, how do we know what could work? And that's something that I'm going to address today. So let me go back and really introduce myself. My name is Oriel Ross McKinney. And you can find all the information on OrielRoss.com, ORIEL, Ross, ROSS.com. And that'll show you a little bit what I do and, deep dive a little bit further. So like I said, I love to help to see businesses grow, engineer our thoughts, reverse engineer some of our results, and find out what worked well. What should we duplicate? Those are the type of things that really make businesses shine, businesses stand out. The statistics for failing businesses is really, really great. You want to make sure that you give your business the legacy that it deserves. So that's something else that we're going to talk about. We're going to talk about, why are you starting your business? What is the legacy behind it? What do you want to leave behind? And the why. Are you just doing it to make your life easier? Are you chasing something? So all that goes into strategy, believe it or not. That why is so important in identifying and breaking down what we want to do, the future of the business, what it means, how we're going to value it. If you were going to sell it, what were you going to sell it at? So all those things go into the value that you bring to the table, the value that from what goes from you, and it translates right into the business, and then what it's worth on the open market. I'm known as a small business engine because I like to get in and rev things up, rev people up, and really get things going. I am coming to you today from sunny Orlando, Florida. Orlando's just beautiful. It's beautiful this time of year. It's not too hot. It's not too cold. We did get the cold spell like all the rest of the country. So it was colder than normal. But, right now we're at a good, comfortable walking weather, enjoying the ponds and the ducks. So it really is beautiful. If anybody has a chance to come to Orlando to visit, please do. You will enjoy it. Great place for families and couples and businesses. It's growing very well down here. So one of the things I want to talk about is really brand identity. A lot of people say branding, and branding means different things to different people. When people say branding, one of the things that you want to think about is, what kind of branding are you doing? Are you creating logos and letterhead? That's one sort of branding. That's the visual branding. But what I really talk about when it goes into branding is, who do people know you to be? Who do people believe that you are? And through the course of your work and your results, who have you been known to be? So one thing is to play your position. So when you start a business, you're really interested in getting results. You're not interested in dropping a lot of social media just so that you get recognized and everything. You want to make sure that you get results. Ideas are cheap. Proof of concept is everything. So you want to make sure that what you say that you can do can be done, and that you can prove it, and you have testimonials, and you have work that will back it up, and you have results, and you have profits. So remember to always think about where you are. Start from where you need to start. One of the easiest ways is to go through and ask your early clients, one by one, what they enjoyed, what they didn't like. Look at their business results. Did you take them from A to Z where they needed to be? Where are they in the life cycle of business? Because if you start to brand too early and you have not been able to get the results, then you're not going to be a successful brand. So, and the one thing, so you'll go from, a result getter to someone who's making profit, and that's when you become a professional, when you are able to show in dollars and cents what you're worth. So you're going into making profit. Then you're going into being recognized and what kind of influence. And then from there, you can become a brand. So make sure that you go into the lane that you belong, you work it thoroughly, you don't get impatient with the results, and then you will come to see what your brand really is. What you are a brand when you can walk in and you can command a certain audience, where you could command that people use a certain product based on your recommendation. So that's all very important. That all goes into building a brand. You don't want to go too early, once again. So you want to take your time and make sure that you are in the right positioning so that you can be the brand that you want to be. A lot of people don't really have that brand clarity. And with brand clarity, what comes to mind is, are you authenticating your brand? Just because you have to read something twice doesn't make it true. Just because you may have a certain amount of experience doesn't mean that that is where you shine. So you have to be authentic. You have to know your purpose. You have to know your focus, and they go hand in hand. What's your moral compass when it comes to the brand that you are identifying? So it's all about authenticating your brand. Then you want to reinforce your solutions. This is all a part, again, of brand clarity, because a lot of things come into play. It's just like when you're running a business. Some people call themselves partners, some say CEO, some people say president. But what does it really mean? If you don't have the power to make decisions based on whatever those circumstances are, those titles are just titles. So what's in a name? So when you come to clarity, it has to be authenticated, and you have to reinforce by solution. So what are the solutions that you bring to the table in order to deem yourself the brand that you are calling yourself? And then you want to sharpen your process. So what works well? I have this little habit that when I have a really great day or I've closed a big deal, I will write down all the things that happened, not just that day, but throughout the process of researching the company, researching the person that I want to do business with, developing that relationship, being able to leverage that relationship, what went really, really right. And then you also want to find out what went really, really wrong, because those things happen. It doesn't mean that the deal is dead. It doesn't mean that things won't happen. It doesn't mean that you won't get the results that you want. But what it does mean is that you have to figure out a way to duplicate what went well, and you have to figure out a way to cure what didn't go according to plan. And it's okay, because these mistakes make us stronger. These mistakes are enabled us to offer more things and develop better packages and have better connections. So our leverage power in the marketplace becomes stronger. Why? Because we've identified the results. So again, results, brand clarity, authenticating your brand, reinforcing your solutions, and sharpening your process. Write it down. Once you have your standard of operations, which in all intent and purposes is sharpening your process, you can duplicate it again and again and again. So that automation process is part of it. Whether you automate using, people that you've hired and you train in your methodology, and they go out and they storm the market and they do what's needed to be done, or you can authenticate using real automation. What can you offer and duplicate that process in a shorter period of time? And that's where it goes. So every time that you reach out and you make a connection, make sure that there's a way that you can contribute to your process. So that's making it better and better every time. You have to know how to discover your differences. And that's where it comes into this whole who you are versus who your competitors are. You don't know your weight. You don't know how you can leverage. You don't know what you can do unless you're able to know what makes you different, what you can build versus what somebody else says they can build. Because everybody has a story, but does everybody have the capability, have the je ne sais quoi? Does everybody have the niche that you've created in your lane at the appropriate time? Remember, are you a brand, or are you an influencer, or are you just getting to the professional status and being able to log your results? That's where it comes. So they all go hand in hand. So what I'm actually talking about today is the step-by-step process to effective strategy and to sustainability in your business. So businesses, again, they come and go. You want to be on the right side of history. You want to be where you start something, you're able to either pass the legacy on, or you're able to sell the business for what it's really worth, for the hours that you put into that. All of that is value. Now, until that value is realized monetarily, the value is just in theory. It's in your head. And again, sometimes the numbers will tell you this may not be the business for you. But if the numbers are in a positive trend, and not all businesses are designed to be profitable the first years. Most pharmaceutical companies won't turn a profit in the first 7 years. So you have to know your industry, what's expected. Are you a disruptor? So those are all things that go into being clear about not only where you are, but where you're going to go. To be a disruptor in the industry, you have to influence people in a different way. Remember, you cannot influence somebody unless you know what influences them. Are you able to see what influences them? If anybody's there, give me a little hi or wave or anything like that. I know we are worldwide, so everybody's in a different time zone. So just let me know what you want to do, what you want to ask, and I'll be happy to incorporate that into the presentation. The other thing that we want to talk about, and again, we've gone through brand clarity. So what about effective strategy? So these are all things that go into your value, what you're presenting the world. So what makes a strategy effective? People use strategy like it's commonplace, like it's easy. Strategies are very individualized. Now, just like I have told you guys to do, which is to authenticate your brand and to duplicate your process. Strategy, of course, has a particular process. So while it's individual in nature in your business and also bringing in who you are, because that's the tea, that's the sauce, right? Who you are, it's still a certain process that you follow in order to know if you're successful from the beginning. Knowing you're successful from the beginning will give you, again, more of a forward-thinking approach to should you continue. So, are you on the right track? Do you have positive trends? Where is your profit and loss statements? All of those things make sense when it comes to your strategy. So the first part of effective strategy that I tell everybody is creating value. How have you created value in the marketplace? What is your organizational purpose? Why should people call you? Why should people know about you? Why should they know about your business? Why should people spend their money there? Why should people tell somebody about you? Remember, referrals are one of the strongest ways to grow because they come from a trusted source. If you're out there and you're depending only on cold calling or stomping the market, it will take longer to turn those potentials into interested people, and for those interested people to become clients, and for those clients to be retained. Once somebody gives you a referral and they have a belief in who you are, they understand your purpose. They understand your purpose, and they understand your organization's purpose. So that's where you create the value. Step 2 is the exploration piece. What about the conceptual review? One thing I mentioned is that, most concepts seem very benign. They seem, what harm could they do? But, a lot of concepts become way too complicated. You don't have to wait for everything to be perfect. Done is better than perfect. Start someplace. You have to, are you adding too many services at first? Are you not adding enough services? Are you catering to the people in your immediate community? Are you able to reach a global platform? What is it about your particular concept that is going to translate into dollars? So you want to make sure you have a thorough conceptual review. It's the basic steps really of your business plan. How are you marketing yourself? Where is your competition? What are you doing on the forefront? And I've been teaching business planning for over 10 years, and I have 20 years corporate experience as well. And you want to make sure that when you're doing your conceptual review, it's inclusive, but you don't want to get bogged down in the process. All of that paralysis and all of that overthinking is just going to delay on when you make it to market. And entry into the market is one of the most important things that you have to focus on, because somebody else is thinking what you're thinking. Somebody else may be thinking what you're thinking, but with an additional twist that's even more valuable. You want to make sure that you get to market in a timely and efficient manner. So one of the things I always talk about is working expeditiously. What does it all mean? Are you quick and are you efficient? efficient? Are you quick and are you efficient? You should be able to balance those two things with adequate results. So that's one of the primary focuses that I talk about. So I said creating value, which is what's your story and your organizational purpose. I also said your exploration. So what about your concept review, and are you achieving optimal results? Now, optimal might be a strong word because I believe that it's everybody's mission to be better. So when you are creating your mission and your vision, just know that there's room to always be better. So are you at the results? When I say optimal results, are you at the results for where you need to be today? And then there's the execution piece. So effective strategy, you're creating value, step 1. You're going through your exploration, step 2. And step 3, you're executing. What does that mean? That means that you should always be the hardest worker in the room. So a lot of us have distractions. A lot of us have, family lives. We have to achieve balance. I do have 2 young children, very young children. I have my household to run and my husband. So there is a lot to the execution piece. But you have to be able to designate what needs to be designated, and you have to be able to follow through with what you said that you would do. So you have to be bold, yet flexible. And that's the bottom line with execution. You have to be bold. If you say that you were going to do it, it's let your yes be yes. Let your no be no. Biblical, but it's a lesson that is in everything that you do. If you say you're going to do something, do it. Sometimes you have to delay a deadline. It happens, but it should not happen to the point where it's a habit. So your execution piece has to be who you are. If you continue to delay when you're going to launch, if you continue to delay when a client project is due, then you are not executing. So you have to step back and think if your timing is right. So that's why I said, what I like to do in my business is inject a lot of reality into what business really, really looks like. Okay. And then you want to always re-engineer yourself. You want to always think about where you're going to be in the next 2 years, the next 5 years, the next 10 years. Short-term plans and long-term plans are the way for continuous success. So sometimes it's difficult to plan and execute at the same time. That's why you are going to come up with your own formula that allows you to continue to be creative, allow you to continue to develop with balancing performance, because you still have to deliver the service and deliver the product. And if you go through all the minutiae and you get bogged down in that, you don't get to continue to discover who you can be. And that's why I say you have to be quick to market, because the person that you are and the business that you take to market is not necessarily the business that you are going to present in the next 5 or 10 years. So all of that is part of the formula. When you're going to launch, doing it effectively, continuing to re-engineer yourself and present new ideas to your general body, your customers. So there are, I would say, known growth techniques. So let's take a moment and talk about growth. What is it like to continue? What should you do more so? What are the things that you can do to ensure growth? You don't want to stagnate, because some markets are saturated, and that is no way mean that you should not continue to put your product out there, whether your market is saturated or not. It has no bearing on how good you are or if you can take over an industry. Sometimes you need just the right partners, the right collaborations, the right resources, the right ideas, the right drive, and all that goes into your growth. So take a moment to understand that that you can do it all. Okay. And all looks differently. Again, it's achieving balance, but you can get it done. And you have to believe that from the jump. Let your yes be yes. Let your no be no. If you told yourself that this is what you're going to do, then let your yes be yes. And that is one of the most important lessons that I've learned throughout my career. One of the things in growth, which I said that we're going to talk about next, is establishing metrics. So what metrics are you using, whether financial or operational, that's going to let you know that you hit success? Remember, you don't know if you've gotten someplace unless you know where you're going. Understand where you're going so that when you get there, you know that you've arrived. You know that you can continue to move that finish line a little bit further, because there's more that you have to offer, more growth that you can give. So know your metrics. And I'm a believer in outsourcing. So if if you want to outsource your accounting, that's fine, and that's probably helpful if that's not your forte, or if it doesn't lend to your organizational organizing your time. But however, you need to know what metrics are good to know that if you should continue in that line of work or you should change things around. Then you want to make sure that you are efficient in technology. I think technology is one of the most important things when it comes to your growth. So you don't want to get bogged down in tech, because some people feel like they need every social media platform. The social media platforms that you need are the ones where your customers are located. If your customers are on LinkedIn, that's where you go. If your customers are on Facebook, that's where you go. If your customer is on Instagram, then that's where you go. If you're on all three, then you come up with a strategy for all three. But you do have to have technology in your business, and try to automate as much as you can. That way that you have a passive way to attain income while you continue to grow. And that's a missing formula, because you can't be everywhere all the time, and not everybody is running a big conglomerate or a business. We specialize in small businesses and micro businesses. So our business owners, they are not running these huge corporations, but they are making dents in their community. They may employ 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 or more people in that community. So whether they are good or bad, it affects several households. So you have to know that you are operating efficiently. The third point when it comes to growth is the customer experience. Are you focused on the customer experience? A lot of things that we think that our customers feel, they may not feel. So you want to make sure that your customers understand that you're here for them, that you understand their needs, that you are able to gather the intel from them and from previous projects to see what they want. That customer experience it'll tell people if you understand your customer psychology. And that's what it boils down to. Remember, you cannot influence somebody unless you know what influences them. So knowing what influences them is going to help you create your service and your products and become an influencer. Now, remember, you have to become an influencer before you even become a brand. So that's why I tell you, take all the steps to the process and do it in order so that you know where you are. If you do that, you will be to market faster than you ever thought that you could be. The other thing that you want to do when it comes to growth, and there's several points here, is maximizing your niche. So what is it that you're good at that your competitor is not good at? You have to be able to leverage your client base so that they know exactly who you are. So you may do finances, but do you do financial planning for a particular sector of person? You might do business consulting like myself, but do you only work with people in technology? Do you only work with small businesses? Do you only work with it could be daycare centers. It could be anything. You niche yourself, and then you'll see faster growth that way. Not to say that you can't branch out. And I've had a history of can do it all. But I noticed that my growth is substantial when I focus on a particular type of customer. I'm able to hone my skills in that field a lot better. I'm able to learn quicker. I'm able to contribute more. So don't be afraid to welcome a niche so that people know who to ask, because every market, we talked about saturation, they have so many different types of people offering the same thing. So what are you good at? What are you good at that somebody else isn't? Maybe you're great at the travel industry, so maybe that's where your consultation skills are needed. So again, it's all about making people know who you are and what value you bring. Let's see, what else can we talk about when it comes to growth? How about ramping up awareness? Once you become a brand, you are free to ramp up the awareness. Actually, once you become an influencer, you can ramp up awareness. So remember, the first you're going to start being a professional. Once you get those results, you become a professional. Then you're going to be an influencer, and then you become a brand. So once you're able to be an influencer and people understand who you are and you could back it up, you have to expand your social media. You have to expand your marketing. You have to expand your PR. You have to expand your advertising. You have to expand your referrals. So remember, you ask for referrals. That's how you get them. You teach people how to think about you when they hear certain things. So I've learned a lot about referring over the years. And again, If you're going to grow a business, that's one of the things that you need to do. Advertising, of course, there's a difference between marketing and advertising. Marketing, you're more influencing people and convincing them that this is what they should be looking at, seeing, touching, buying. Advertising, you're doing the same thing, but a lot more dollars. So you're paying for that airspace. You're paying for the time on the radio, on TV, online, whatever that is. But do invest in a way that's going to take you from narrowcasting to broadcasting. You want to be able to shout what you do until you are that brand that people are telling you who you are and what you do. And then you know that there is success there. And then you want to talk about, I would say when it comes to growth, your sales techniques. So with your sales techniques, do you lean on your loyal clients? That's the one thing. Do you have a sales funnel? Now, this goes back to the technology. You know, what CRM are you using when it comes to your business? Okay, all these are strategies that help you to growth. So with your sales techniques, do you know who is somebody who's a potential client, and what have you done to reach out to them? People network all the time, and I think networking is a whole different session that we can have, and I would love to have with this group. But when it comes to networking, people go, they may collect information and they never use it. All of that information should be fed into your customer relationship management tool, your CRM. All that information should be made. You make sure that you're reaching out to these people. You're thanking them for meeting you. You are remembering something about the conversation. You have to connect with people in order to grow with people. So I think that is one of the things when it comes to growth is your sales techniques. A lot of people may not feel that they're good at sales, but if you're in business, you are in sales. So whatever that looks like, it may look different to different people, but you are in sales. So do really embrace it. Think about what works for you best, what techniques work. Sometimes the subtle sale, the email, your conversion rate is not going to be that great. It doesn't matter who you are. Your email conversion may only be 1% and statistically is about 1%. So if you are getting 1% readership, 1% or 20% readership, 1% conversion rate in your email, that's typical, but it's also a slow way to grow. So be out there and call, be out there and network, be out there and let people know what you do. Let people know what your niche is. So it's all about growth. We talked about today effective strategy. We talked about brand clarity. One other thing that we could talk about is your game plan, your exit game plan. So know why you're building your business. I touched on it a little bit. Are you creating a legacy, or what are you actually doing when it comes to where your business should end up? Do you have some kind of succession plan? Who should inherit your business? What if something happens? Do you want your business to fold, or do you want your business to continue? Do you have a partner? Should you have a life insurance on your partner? Should that life insurance, should your company be the beneficiary of that life insurance? God forbid something happens. These are all things that have to come up when it comes to your exit plan. So know what the life of your business is. There's several books out there on, exit planning and all of that. And that's something that we work with our clients as well. So it's one thing to know your game plan, and are you just looking for your financial independence and you're expecting the business to go down when you go down? All those are acceptable answers, but what it's going to help you to do is grow in the way that you should grow so that you hit your exit plan timely and effectively. So I did ask for a few questions. Today in preparation for speaking with you guys. And one of the things that came across is, how do you know what will yield results? Well, how do you know what will really? So we're doing a lot of things. So if I'm reading this correctly, we are. You might be putting in a lot of your time with your social media and all that. You measure that. How many people in that realm have you converted? Is that worth it? Are you putting out the right content? So all those things matter. How do you know you're getting results from the products, your sales? All of those things tell you if it's working or not. What else are you doing in business? You should be able to query some of the people that you've worked with to see if this is what they expect from you? Is it profitable? You also, when I talk about reverse engineering, that's so that you know where you need to be. How did you get here? When you had a good day, you need to be able to duplicate that process. Feel free to expand on that question or any other question that we have. And I hope that you guys have enjoyed a lot of this information. One thing is that when it comes to results, don't be afraid to get out there. Remember, ideas are cheap. Ideas can be great, but ideas are cheap. So what does that really mean? If you're approaching everybody and you have to sign a non-disclosure and you're not able to get your idea out there and nobody wants to hear it, nobody wants to go through all of that. Even the top investors, they don't have time to go through all of that. I work with getting people funding a lot, and people want to know what this idea is. But more than they want to know what the idea is, they want to know that it works. What is your proof of concept? And that's the bottom line. So your entry to market, again, is so crucial. And your proof of concept is so crucial. Those are all your results that you need. So that's the information that I have for you guys today. I know that we are all across the world and we are in different time zones. So please do write a comment when you do get and you watch this. Let me know what you think. Let me know what more information that we could provide in the future. Again, my name is Oriel Ross McKinney. I am a business strategist, an author, and a host, and a speaker. So let me know. You can find me at Oriel Ross, OrielRoss.com. You can find my social media platforms and everything through there. I would love to talk to you guys at length. So drop me a note. Let me know what you think, and have a wonderful, wonderful day. See you later from sunny Orlando, Florida.